Times like this make me wish I had some awesome Crollo quotes. But sadly enough, he didn't get enough screen time. What an awesome guy, and he's only there for a couple episodes out of the series. That sucks. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about Hunter x Hunter 2011 and also 1999 as well, because I watched them both, and I know some people are going to be surprised with that because I didn't want to watch Hunter x Hunter for the longest time. I watched like the first two arcs of it, and I thought it was a little bit too cutesy for my taste, and I put it on the back burner. And then there was one day that I thought to myself, you know what? I feel like watching Hunter x Hunter, and that's how I am with my hobbies. I gotta have my heart into it in order to truly, like, fully appreciate something. And next thing you know, it's been like a month later, I marathoned all of 2011 and almost all of 1999 as well. And I almost wanted to read the manga. I was this close, and then I started checking it out, saw some of the art style to it, and I thought, you know what? Let me just record the video, cut my losses, and move on, because it didn't look that good. So just letting you guys know, this video was totally just unstructured ramblings about the way that I feel about Hunter x Hunter, so there will be spoilers to it, so just keep that in mind. The way that I felt about Hunter x Hunter was totally a mixed bag here. It's a total roller coaster. I had my highs, these moments where I was so surprised at how much I was enjoying the anime, where I felt like, man, this is how it used to feel to watch anime. It was like this 10 years ago for me, when I hadn't seen over 800 anime, and I had stuff to do, but I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to quit watching Hunter x Hunter or certain parts of Hunter x Hunter in order to get back to work. I didn't want to. And I enjoyed the fact that I felt that way. I'm always chasing that feeling. I want to find more anime like that. Sure, I love some deep anime where you can only watch one episode or 2 episodes a day because you got to let it just decompress in your head. I love stories like that too. But at the same time, while I had my highs where I was so, so into the anime, I had my lows that were so low that I felt disappointed with anime as a medium. Like, how sad is it, honestly, that we live in a world where Dragon Ball Z can just have content for decades, and Naruto is still going on. It's not even about Naruto anymore. It's about his son Boruto. And you've got people out there that are so diehard fans of Naruto that I remember back in the day when there was like NASCAR fans, NASCAR content creators on YouTube who used to make videos screaming at 11-year-old vloggers. This little girl that's like, oh, I think Naruto and Hinata are so cute, and he was just yelling at her in a video, and she made a video crying, apologizing. That is the fandom that, those people, they don't give a damn about Boruto, but they're still making content for it. But at the same time, we've got, I guess you could say One Piece as well. One Piece is good, but I don't hear too many people are really excited about One Piece anymore, but it's still going on. Hunter x Hunter, as good as it is, the mastermind behind Yu Yu Hakusho creates Hunter x Hunter, and it's totally acceptable that they end the show off only concluding one rivalry out of every rivalry in the series. People are fine with it. So many rivalries. I guess you could say, oh, well, the Crollo and Kurapika, that was a finished rivalry. It wasn't, because at the end of the Greed Island arc, Hisoka found a Nin exorcist, which allowed him to go and release Crollo from the conditions of Kurapika, which still means to me that that rivalry is still open. Also, because Crollo's a total badass of a character, and I also don't want to hear anybody asking Bob what's with the suit in an anime video. I do have this there. I hope that's enough, I've done this before. Anytime a character in an anime wears an outfit that I can match, I do that in the video just to have fun, because I want to cosplay, but at the same time, I don't want to own cosplay outfits, and I have suits, so we meet together there. But Crollo was my favorite villain of the series. I also, I would say that he had the potential to be my favorite villain of the series. My true favorite was the King from the Chimera Ant arc, but I just felt like I felt so much satisfaction from the York New arc because it was so methodical, the way that they would have to go through and try and fight against the spiders, the Phantom Troop. I liked it so much in that arc because actually one thing that I really liked about Hunter x Hunter is that they weren't afraid to have heroes who were underpowered and failed. In fact, I would say they would go the failure route a little bit too often in Hunter x Hunter, because if you were to think about the several arcs that we had, how many times was Gon the catalyst for change within the plot? How many times did he advance the plot? He did. The only time that he actually did something to positively impact the plot was with Greed Island, when he collected all the cards for that and worked with everybody. I liked Greed Island, by the way. But aside from that, everything else was progressed through Gon's failure. And that, to me, makes me feel like Hunter x Hunter is just the tip of the iceberg right there. I want to watch Hunter x Hunter until Gon is progressing the plot by himself. I feel like it's just incomplete as a shonen series, because when we watch a shonen, typically shonen, you have a character who starts off and gets his ass kicked, and then he gets stronger and starts to progress. That's kind of how it works. And I want to see the story continue until we get to that point with Gon. Plus, on top of that, we have so many other arcs that were just left inconcluded in my mind. Like, say, for example, we've got Hisoka and Gon. I want to see Gon get to the point where he's standing toe-to-toe with Hisoka and defeats him. The 99 version. But as I was saying about the York New arc, I loved it so much because the characters were underpowered there, and they had to work together in order to try and even break even with the Phantom trope. Like, that part where they had captured Gon and Killua, and you had Leorio off to the side, and they were collaborating with that girl who looks like the female version of the Penguin from Batman and Robin. They were all collaborating together to turn the lights off, and then Kurapika would go in there and capture Crollo, leaving the other two to kind of fend for themselves, because that was kind of his main goal there. And I just loved it, how methodical they needed to be in order to just stand toe-to-toe with the Phantom trope there. It really felt like they were out of their league, and I love that within shonen anime, because it's too often that we see a hero just go in there, get beat a little bit, and he just like wipes the floor with everybody else. So even though, for my money, York New arc takes the cake for the entire series right here for my favorite arc, but I still feel so incomplete. You know, like I said about Crollo and Kurapika, but at the same time, how many other Phantom trope members were not fully addressed? And by addressed, I mean in a fight where they lost and got killed or beaten in a way that totally broke their resolve. I loved every single moment of that, but we missed out on so much just because of the length of the series. And I feel like the way that I feel about Hunter x Hunter, most of the positive feelings that I have about the show are associated with the potential that I believe that it had. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that, in my opinion, Yoshihiro Togashi, in regards to being a writer for shonen series, is a fucking mastermind when it comes to powers and also developing your villains. He truly is. I don't find too many people that do it like him. The Nin system in general is so advanced, so much more advanced than any other power system in any other anime. So much so that I feel like the anime doesn't really do it justice as much as I feel that it could, or as much as I would like to see from it. So the Nin system is... it's basically like your spirit energy. You know what it is already. This is a spoiler video, so probably everybody's already seen it. But it's your spirit energy, and there's different types of Nin. There's Ren, there's Ten, and there's different types of abilities in terms of how you focus this life energy. It's kind of like the chakra system, or I guess you could say vice versa there, because everybody says that Naruto copied Hunter x Hunter, and I can see what's up with that. It's still like Naruto, though, but... The Nin system, they break it down into these different specialization categories, where you can be an enhancer, for an example, and you can just enhance parts of your body. And I really liked how they made it so that you could go in between the different nodes on the Nin system there, and you could combine multiple Nin specializations together. But I feel like there was this fight in the Heaven's Arena arc where you had Hisoka versus this guy with the long white hair who had multiple different Nin abilities, but that was actually my favorite Nen usage out of the entire series, the way that they handled it, because the reason why that guy lost to Hisoka was because he was stretching himself too thin across all of the different Nen nodes, and even though I have criticized other anime for their level of power talk, like Dragon Ball Z, all the power talking that they do, I guess you could say Bleach as well with that, and also the level of narration in certain anime, but I feel like Hunter x Hunter could have probably used a little bit more power talk and a little bit more narration there, because there's a lot of creativity that goes into creating the powers. Like somebody saying, oh, well, this is my ability, I created it because in such and such, just because I'm curious about the character. And I feel like that fight in Heaven's Arena was done very well, because we get to see why his abilities were ineffective, because he was spreading himself too thin across like 3 different Nen nodes, while Hisoka, on the other hand, was just focused on that one node. And the way that Hisoka used his ability, they used other characters and the power talk to discover why or how he was using it, because during that time, that was when Killua and Gon were learning their abilities, and they were sitting in that hotel room using the Nin, focusing on their eyes so that they could see Hisoka's abilities, and we were seeing that he was stretching like his gum aura across everything. It was using that to manipulate his limbs. The first time I saw him use his abilities, he was like having his arms flying around or whatever. I kind of rolled my eyes at that, but the way that they explained it, it really made a lot of sense that way, and I feel like in terms of the character's abilities, how vast their abilities are, the possibilities are really endless. Like any power you can imagine can be explained through the Nin system. It doesn't really have a whole lot of holes, except for the specialist class. In my opinion, the specialist class is a bit broken, but at the same time, it's got some fun powers. Like, say, for example, with Crollo, about how he's got these conditions, and this is where conditions come into play. It can make you stronger, but it also sets limitations on your abilities as well. There's just so many stipulations and different types of abilities and whatnot within the Nin system that it just isn't fully contained within the 148 episodes that we have here. Like, say, for example, how awesome would it be if we had the specialist Crollo, who had the ability to take people's abilities, and I don't know if he's copying their abilities or stealing their abilities. I don't know. But he takes them and puts them down in his book, and while he's got the book out, he can go through and use everybody's different type of ability. Just like with Kurapika, and how he's got the different chains that each of them symbolize one of the different Nen abilities. We were totally cheated out of an amazing fight. What could have been one of the best fights in anime, when seeing those two fight, because they have all the different abilities that they can call upon, but the anime just wasn't long enough to get to that point. In other regards to the Nin abilities, I feel like they could have definitely have done a lot more, but at the same time, like say for example with the Chimera Antarch, the Chimeras don't understand the technical aspect of the Nin, so I feel like we should have narrators come in there, because it's kind of like all of the rules are thrown out of the window when it comes to the Chimeras, because they kind of just do whatever they want and they don't understand fully how to use it. It's kind of like natural to them, but I guess you could also say that because they're animals, it's like instinct to them, and because they come from human, like as their past life or whatever, it's kind of instinctive how to use Nen. But speaking of the Chimera Antarch, the villain of the king there, Meruem, one of my favorite shonen villains of all time. There are not too many times where villains fully get satisfying development within a shonen anime. I guess you could say Fist of the North Star did a really good job of that as well with the character of Rao, but it's really few and far between. But the character of Meruem, the way that he developed, where he was born having just this righteousness to him, because he was the king of an entire race, and he had this destiny that he was going to rule the entire world, but he was almost humbled to an extent, not quite, by playing this board game with a snot-nosed girl. And I just love the dynamic between the two characters, because she was blind and she couldn't see the entire world, so she couldn't judge him for the way that he looks. But at the same time, even though Meruem could see, he was still blinded by the fact that all of his generals were plotting against his best interest, because they were wanting to kill the girl because they were feeling that she was making him weak, but he was feeling that she was making him strong because he was constantly being pushed and evolving within that game that they were playing. And it was so weird for me because I was really invested in watching them play that game. It was intense to me. I've tried to watch other anime that are about board games and I just can't get into it, and I was really interested in this. I thought it was awesome. And then I should also say that the conclusion of the Chimera Ant arc was one of the most touching events in shonen anime as well, where you had this love story, not really a love story, but they were such close companions between the blind girl and Meruem, and the way that they died at the end there, that was a really like tear-jerking moment right there. And it's just so sad. Like I liked the moment. It was a powerful moment, but at the same time, it was such a cheap reason behind it. You had this amazing fight, which, by the way, like I said, I love Meruem, and also I love Netero as well. They fought against each other. Netero, how the hell do you explain somebody having a nuke inside of their body like that, and then, their heart stops and it detonates, and it's literally the power of a nuke? It's hard to really take that seriously. I understand why they did it. It was symbolic, teaching him the lesson about the worst cruelty that humanity has to offer. And it kind of humbled him a little bit because he wasn't aware of how powerful humans actually were and the hatred that humans were capable of in terms of just nuking something and wiping out an entire society with one nuke like that. But the fight that they had was actually really enjoyable as well. And I wanted to see more of Netero. I really liked his backstory about how he was training in the wilderness and he was just trying that one punch that he would do, and it was one of the most powerful abilities. Like, he would go back into the school that he was training from and he would punch so fast that it like teleported his body. That was badass. And the anime teased the shit out of me too, because they had that opening there, and you know how openings, they will spoil you sometimes. In the Chimera Ant arc, if you watch the ending part of the opening, there's that scene where Netero is there, and he's kind of like this. He's missing an arm, and he's missing a leg, just like in the fight. I thought maybe he's going to come back. I don't know, some bullshit Nin ability or something. I thought he was going to come back. But at the same time, if you weren't aware of it, that's kind of a spoiler for the fight there, because it showed that he lost an arm and a leg there, because he's only like showing that one arm and one leg. I liked the fight for that. However, I felt so disappointed afterwards, because first of all, I thought that was such an ass pull for him that, I've got a nuke in my chest. To me, it just felt like they made a villain way too powerful that nobody could deal with him, even though I did enjoy the fight. But after that cheap move where he was nuked, we had this bromance where everything turned into a fucking yaoi fest almost, because you had the two generals there. One of them is a literal fairy. He's got those heart eyes going on, and he's all cute and really tiny. He's like, oh, Meruem. They're acting like they're in love with each other. Oh, my liege. Oh. And then the other guy, who was such a fucking badass, took several people fighting against him, and they still didn't even have a chance. And the only reason some of them survived was because he had a bit of mercy and honor in him. And then, as I was just getting into his character and thinking, this guy's alright, I like his character, he turns into one of these little guys as well, and he's all in this bromance with him, and it's just, I was sickened by that. Like, why did they need to put that there? This was such a dramatic and serious moment, and then we had several episodes there. It was all cutesy and like, oh, I love you, or whatever, That was uncalled for. I did not like that. What else can I say about the Chimera Ant arc? One of the most, aside from the board games and aside from like the fight that they had, there was this intense moment there where we had this dude that was teleporting around, and I felt like, wow, I'm on the edge of my seat and watching this guy sneak through the castle, because the Chimera Ant arc gave me what I was longing for in a power-filled shonen anime for such a long time. It gave me the feeling of hopelessness. And yes, there are certain other times where they do that well within the series there, but it kind of reminded me of the time when the Soul Society arc in Bleach. I love the Soul Society arc, where they first go in there, and the power of the villains were so immense that they couldn't breathe or walk within their presence because it was just this weight crushing down on them. That's the way that I feel about the Chimera Ant arc, when that guy was sneaking through the castle trying to set down the portals in order for him to get back. But it did this thing where at any second the guy could get killed off. And I was just on the edge of my seat watching that. I enjoyed it. I know I'm all over the place with this video, but if I talked about all the arcs in order, then I'd be like halfway through the video before I get to my favorite parts that I want to talk about there. So I guess we're going to talk about the Greed Island arc next. Greed Island, I enjoyed Greed Island. I was pleasantly surprised by the structure of that arc there, because first of all, I kind of rolled my eyes and I had very low expectations because I am kind of used to anime having these, I'm trapped in a video game sort of thing, and it really was hard for me to take it seriously when they were hunting down this video game cassette. But then when I learned about what Greed Island actually was, I was mind blown by that. It's like Greed Island is a real island, but they use Nin abilities to structure it in a way that it makes it feel like a video game. And one of the conditions is that if anybody reveals the fact that it's a video game, they get killed immediately in order to preserve the immersion for all the other players there. That was so cool. Greed Island, aside from my opinion, Dot Hack Sign, which is my favorite trapped in a video game sort of anime. I love that show, but some people find it boring. I love it. But out of all of the anime that I've ever seen about people being trapped in a video game, Greed Island is probably the most detailed, and it's not even an anime about being trapped in a video game, and it's not even a video game. It's just somebody using their powers there. I like the structure. I like how they would strategize using the cards, and I hate card battle stuff. I can't even bring myself to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just a personal thing. I'm not into cards at all. I don't even play like poker or whatever. I just think it's kind of boring. My opinion about that. But the Greed Island arc, it was enjoyable. I felt like it was pretty fun how they had to strategize and get people together and like trade cards and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cool. And then the tennis match, or it wasn't a tennis match, the volleyball match, where Hisoka teamed up with Gon, I thought that was awesome because we got to see more of the dynamic between Gon and Hisoka. My favorite part from that was when Hisoka got the ball shot at him so hard where he made this aura, the gummy aura, and he like slingshotted it back. That was so cool right there. And the thing is, like, even though Hisoka is a total creep, and they really they creep him out to the 11th in this anime, because 1999 he was creepy. I mean, but he wasn't nearly as bad as 2011. There's times in 2011 anime where it's just like, this is so bad it's uncalled for, especially because I already have my preconceived notions about the weird shit that's going on over there in Japan in terms of like pedo stuff, you know? Like, that's the way that I feel about it already. So going in there with that disposition and seeing Hisoka just sitting there looking at Killua and Gon as they walk, looking at their butts, and they're like 11, by the way, and he's like licking his chops, like, you know? That shit's creepy, especially when you know all the other stuff. Like, it's hard for me to have... I have trust issues because Rurouni Kenshin, one of my favorite shonen series, the author behind that never had any warning, got arrested because he had a whole mountain of CP over there. So it's like, I don't know what to think. All this lowly stuff going on, you got Hisoka here. But aside from that creepy shit, creepy shit aside, I liked his character, and I wanted to see more of him, and I felt like, to some extent, he could be a bit trustworthy. Actually, in the Hunter exam arc, I felt like there was this dynamic between the characters where they had something in common. Like, say, for example, with, you had Gon and Killua. They're both very similar, but they're different. Like, they both approach the Hunter exams with this, excited, like, curiosity to them. They were really optimistic about it, and they were just having fun with it. But at the same time, they were totally different, where Killua had been taught to kill at a young age, and he was living a very pampered life. But at the same time, you had Gon, and he was like somebody who was just left to his own devices. He was missing his dad, and he was somebody who had just gone out and explored. He kind of just found his own way, and He's got a very strong survivalist attitude to him because he's so used to being left to his own devices out there. So the two of them together, they had something in common, but at the same time they were very different personalities, and I enjoyed the connection between them. I guess you could say the same thing about Leorio and Kurapika as well, because, let me just take this off here, because they have something in common, but they also have very conflicting personalities. So Leorio and Kurapika, they're both very goal-oriented characters, and they don't care about the hunter exam. It's simply a means to an end for them. Kurapika just wants to be a hunter in order to complete his goal of killing the people responsible for killing his clan and getting his vengeance. And then Leorio, he doesn't really care about being a hunter either. He just knows that being a hunter will give him money so that he could do his selfless acts of ridding the world of a specific disease. So they've got the thing in common where they're goal-oriented and they don't care about the exam per se. It's just like a means to an end for them. I feel like some people might disagree with me in this, and that's fine, but I feel like Tompa and Hisoka are kind of like opposite sides of the same coin. They're both tricksters, and they both will do anything to kind of screw with you. That's kind of their whole MO. But at the same time, I feel like Hisoka is actually more trustworthy than Tompa, because Hisoka is willing to work with you. Like with Gon, he helped Gon out there. He also, like, he will work with Kurapika, even though Kurapika had his chains and he didn't really give much of a choice. I feel like if you're after the same thing as Hisoka, and you've got, like, mutual goals, he's probably going to help you out a little bit. But with Tompa will give you the impression that he's helping you out, but he will screw you over even if it means that he is going to suffer as a result of it, just because I guess he's a sadist. I didn't really like the character of Tompa. He's a pain in the ass, but since we're talking about the hunter exams now, I didn't like that arc, but it definitely grew on me when I was watching the dub. That's the thing that I really learned about myself when watching this anime dub, is that I've had such a hard time really getting into shonen anime over the past few years, but I realized with Hunter x Hunter I need to watch it dubbed. I like subtitle anime, but I prefer to just watch the subtitles for, like, the more complex shows that are just deeper and more serious, you know, something that you would really want to pay attention to every single second. Hunter x Hunter, on the other hand, when it comes to shonen anime in general, they're more of a relax, you know, maybe you're on your phone a little bit, maybe you're eating, or maybe even playing a video game sometimes. It just makes it much more enjoyable, in my opinion, when it's dubbed like that. So the exam arc, even though I didn't like it, especially like with the birds and all this other weird shit that was going on, I didn't like it the first two times I tried to watch Hunter x Hunter. The third time around, because it was dubbed, I felt much more relaxed, and I felt just more susceptible to the enjoyment that Hunter x Hunter was offering me. So another thing that the Hunter exam did was introduce us to Illumi. Now, Illumi is a very enigmatic character. I wanted to see more about him, but we just don't see it. There's a big rivalry between him and Killua. I know I'm probably mispronouncing Killua. I don't care, because at least I'm not saying Killua like the 1999 dub did. But, yeah, that was pretty cringeworthy there. But the rivalry between Killua and Illumi, we just didn't get to see the end to it. I was interested in seeing where it was going, because it was something major that affected Killua's character throughout the entire series, and even his performance, because he was just unable to stand his ground, because the lingering effects of his indoctrination from his brother really just got to him. And then we had that final arc, and I thought maybe we're going to see a conclusion to the Hisoka and Gon fight. No. Maybe we're going to see a conclusion to the Illumi and his Killua fight. I just wasn't satisfied with that, honestly. It really was disappointing to me. Honestly, the election arc, to me, is a total joke. I don't understand what's good about it, what people like about it. If you like the election arc, even if it's your favorite arc or whatever, let me know in the comments section below. I want to know why people like it, because I don't. The reason why I don't like the election arc is because they're trying to cram probably 30 episodes of content into 20 or 10 episodes, actually. There's just not enough space to do everything that they're doing there. They've got this election because their chairman Netero died, and they've got all of these other hunters who are coming up with these convoluted set of rules and then arguing back and forth about, oh, we can't do these rules, we gotta do it this way. And it doesn't really matter, because you only got 10 episodes to do it, and then the conclusion that was pretty anticlimactic. You've got Gon's dad, who finally enters the picture here. That should be a big thing, but it's kind of rushed. Then you've got this whole thing where Gon, for the final arc of his own anime, is in the bed, and his body's totally wrapped up because he screwed himself over by using all of his nin at once in order to become the future version of himself. Not really future version of himself, but he took all of his potential in his total life, and he squeezed it down into himself at that point, which made him older and have the whole Marge Simpson hair going on there, and totally obliterated that Chimera girl, and she was totally defenseless. The only satisfying fight that Gon, the protagonist of Hunter x Hunter, had was in the Heaven's Arena arc when he fought against Hisoka. But even then, it was exciting, but at the same time, you had an 11-year-old boy flipping up tiles of concrete that had to weigh at least a ton, kicking it and breaking him out of nowhere just because he's an enhancer. He went from level 0 to level 9,000, that quickly, and doing all that stuff. And yeah, I feel like maybe the power levels aren't really that important, but at the same time, it kind of is, because they go so much in depth about explaining the Nin system. He just shouldn't have been that powerful that early on, in my opinion. But the final fight between Gon and that Chimera girl, he totally obliterated her. It was just a one-sided fight because he did that Nin transformation and just beat the bricks out of her and killed her. And then the last arc of the series, he's in bed, and then you've got Killua, who's taken his sister, who is a totally new character, who just felt like was written in for the purpose of healing Gon. Like, they painted him into a corner, and then they kind of just brought her out of nowhere. And also, I'm not going to forget the fact that there is a character who can teleport in the series, and her powers, it's kind of interesting, her powers, but it's, at the same time, I could leave it. I don't really care about her as a character. She's got the ability to grant any wish, but you've also got to do 3 things that she wants, so she'll start asking some really weird stuff like, oh, pull your fingernails off and give it to me. Okay, here, what little girl asks for stuff like that? Seriously, but it is Hunter x Hunter. It's got all sorts of weird stuff there, but why couldn't they have just got the character who teleports to teleport Gon over to them, or teleport them over to Gon? It's kind of a no-brainer to me. Plus, I just feel like at that point, Nin powers are just being made up, and they probably could have made up something else that was a little bit more time respective, considering that they only had 10 episodes there, or about 10 episodes, but I don't think they knew they had 10 episodes at that point, so it kind of just felt rushed at the end. Some people feel like Hunter x Hunter has got a satisfying ending to it, because at the end there, Gon meets up with his father, and that was the whole goal of the series, but I don't feel that way at all. I feel like that is, to me, just think about it, how many anime series end after there's the transformation effect? What if Dragon Ball Z ended right after Goku got Super Saiyan? What if Naruto ended right after the first time that Naruto transformed into the Kyuubi mode when they were fighting against Orochimaru and they left those giant craters on the ground? What if Bleach ended after Ichigo got his hollow powers? And that might actually be a positive thing in that last... This is not a good example there, but I felt like that was the equivalent of those other anime, where it's just like that moment where it starts to take off and it starts to be really good because the main character realizes his potential of his powers, and he's kind of struggling with honing it and mastering it so he doesn't overdo it too much. So that's how I felt about that, and it was pretty disappointing. At the same time, the way that Hunter x Hunter is written, Gon is the protagonist, but it's also written like he's kind of not, where we've got so many other characters who take center stage, and I like that. I like the fact that Hunter x Hunter had so many characters, and I did like most of the characters. The way that I felt was Yu Yu Hakusho had a small amount of very strong characters. In Hunter x Hunter, I feel like there's probably 2 or 3 times as many characters, and they all take their different amount of screen time, and it basically took the quality of the Hunter x Hunter characters and reduced it down to all of the other characters in Hunter x Hunter, and they're all kind of homogenized. there are some characters that I like more than others, which are mainly the villains, because I feel like Yoshihiro Togashi does a really good job in creating his villains. Like with Meruem and also Chrollo, I really like them, but everybody else, I felt like all of the characters were just homogenized in terms of the level of writing behind them and how good of characters that they were. That's just the way that I felt about that. There were no characters to me in Hunter x Hunter that stood out the way that Yusuke stood out when he was a delinquent in school because his mom is an alcoholic and she's she's irresponsible. He's got to take care of her. That was raw. That was grit right there. That's what we need in anime. There's no Kuwabara that has a rivalry with Yusuke and goes kicking and screaming into his funeral like, "You're not dead. You're not dead. You can't be dead because who am I going to fight now?" That's really touching moments right there. It's episode 1. There's no Kurama in Hunter x Hunter who would willingly sacrifice himself for his parents there, That was a touching moment in Hakusho. There's no, you get where I'm going here. I liked the characters in Hunter x Hunter, but they were not nearly as good as the characters within Hakusho. That's how I felt. I just felt like the characters are better over there, even though I did like some of the Hunter x Hunter characters. I will say, let's talk a bit about this moment that I felt was really touching to me from the OVAs. During that little mini arc when they went back to the Whale Island, you could really get a feeling for the way that Killua was raised and how, he had everything and he was pampered, but at the same time he was emotionally neglected. And also he, was mistreated. I think that's fair to say, considering that he was killing people by the time he was 6, and then his brother, put needles in his brain to control him. So when he was over there at Gon's place, and he was meeting with, I forget what relative she is, I think it's his cousin or whatever, his aunt or something, I forget who exactly raises him, but it was just really touching moments there in seeing how he reacted to having a loving family for a moment. That was my favorite moment of protagonist-based development out of the entire series, and I'm talking about 1999 and 2011. I just felt like that was a good moment, and there were certain things that the OVA just did better. It's really big mixed bag, but I didn't finish watching the 1999 version. I just didn't feel like it was different enough to warrant going through. I just didn't care. It was not dubbed, and it was just showing me a lot of the stuff was practically identical, even though in the York New Arc, the art direction was just through the roof. There were certain times where the art would just look amazing, the character design there, and just the color usage and everything, but the animation just didn't, it wasn't that good. It wasn't nearly as good as the animation within Hunter x Hunter 2011. I feel like if we're going to compare the presentation value, Hunter x Hunter 1999 looks better at its best, but it looks worse at its worst. And Hunter x Hunter 2011 is very consistent. It's kind of homogenize the quality, so the bad bits look just as good as the good bits, in my opinion, of Hunter x Hunter 2011. It's very high quality, high production value, and even though I like darker anime, even though I like older anime, I like the hand-drawn feel to it, overall I feel like the production value of 2011 is just, it surpasses it by far, because I've seen plenty of 1999 anime that looks so much better than Hunter x Hunter 1999. And it's just a shame that, to me, I feel like Hunter x Hunter, they just didn't do the full justice to what I think the story truly deserves. And it just kind of saddens me that, like I said, we live in a world where so many other anime get the long, drill it into the ground treatment. When Hunter x Hunter, it's just cut short, in my opinion. There's so much more. So that's what I think about Hunter x Hunter 2011. I was going to do a scripted review of it, but it was getting me just held up because I was putting so much, I was just getting stressed out about, I got to do a scripted video and I want to make it really good. I basically fell into the old trap that I used to fall into with making videos. And it took me so long to make this video. It really shouldn't have. But I had so many personal things going on. More deaths in the family because my father died earlier this year, my uncle, now my grandma's in the hospital. It's a mess, and then work-related stuff. I'm the type of person, whenever work piles up, because I'm self-employed, it gets overwhelming, and I kind of just shut down. And I really, it's not a valid excuse for you guys. I know you guys subscribe, even my patrons as well do donate to the channel. I'm going to get back to being consistent with videos. I don't know to what level, but I do have videos planned out that I want to talk about. I'm going to be talking about Romeo and the Blue Skies. I'm going to talk about Star Trek The Next Generation because I have been marathoning the shit out of that recently, and I've been loving it. Absolutely loving it. I'm on season 6, almost season 7 right now, and I have a new appreciation for Star Trek that I've never had. And there were moments during watching that series where I just felt like brought to tears almost, because it was just so deep and so touching, some of those episodes. Anyways, until then, I'm going to make some more videos, like life-related stuff, like vlog-ish things, more car videos and stuff like that. But I kind of wanted to have a little bit of fun with this video here. This new tripod setup, mess around with the camera, new lighting setup and everything. So yeah, thank you all for watching. And like I said, I apologize for the absence of videos lately. And we're going to get back into doing more videos. Thank you all for watching and being patient with the channel. And I'll see you next time. Have an awesome day, everybody. And have fun watching some anime.